Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today I'm going to roll out another episode of The Skies of Ace Combat. And today I'm going to be talking about the F-22A Raptor. And I'm going to give you some Raptor gameplay here while from Ace Combat 7 while I'm giving you a bit of history and development of the plane. The Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor is a single-seat, twin-engine, all-weather, fifth-generation fighter. Say that 5 times fast, folks. I dare you. Now, originally, the F-22 Raptor was actually going to be called F-22 Lightning II. However, this had to do with Lockheed's development of the P-38 Lightning. However, that would change, and it would later change to the name that we all know of as Raptor. The F-22 was developed from the United States Air Force Advanced Tactical Fighter Program. The ATF program would have 2 prototypes, one being the Lockheed Martin YF-22, while the other was the YF-23 Black Widow from Northrop. The program would officially begin October 31st, 1986. However, it wouldn't be until September 29th, 1990, when the YF-22 would take its maiden flight. The goal of the program was to design a plane that would replace the F-15 Eagle and the F-16 Falcon. There was a strong emphasis on stealth capabilities and supercruise. That was like the 2 main things that they wanted this fighter to do, is they wanted stealth and they wanted supercruise. Now, going by some development notes I saw, there was a bunch of other stuff they wanted, like they wanted this thing to carry like 50 missiles or some ridiculous number of missiles like that. They wanted it to be super fast, super maneuverable. And basically it came down to we got to compromise somewhere. They wanted sensors in every direction that could reach out to like 50 miles, and I don't even remember all the ridiculousness that was in the notes, the development notes for this plane. And mind you, this was also the same development for the YF-23 as well. So the Air Force kind of wanted everything. They wanted the Swiss Army knife in these planes. And then at the end of the day, they were going to pick what they felt was the better plane. After 4 years of testing the YF-22 and the YF-23, the YF-22 would be selected for service, as we obviously know now as we're talking about the production F-22. Testing on the first F-22, now mind you, this is a production version of the plane, would begin in 1997. 8 additional F-22s would also participate in the test program. So this was like the further development, kind of rounding out the corners, trying to get locked in of what this plane is going to feature, things of that nature. The first aircraft, the first of 2 aircraft testing would be aerial performance of the F-22, as well as the propulsion and the storage separation, because they were going with a completely different storage. They were going with an internal storage over external, like that you have with like an F-16 or an F-15. They were going with something completely different, so that way this plane could have a stealth signature. Various other tests were done on the various other F-22s, including weight test. You know, how much, if we want to put additional weight on the wings, how much weight would it give us? You know, how much weight can we put on the plane and it still be able to take off and fly? Stuff of that nature. Once the final development was finished, the United States Air Force adopted the F-22 for service. Originally, it was planned for 750 F-22s to be bought, but has since been reduced to 187. Thank you, government. Because that's essentially what it came down to. It wasn't the Air Force that made that decision. It wasn't Lockheed Martin that made that decision. It was the government that made that decision, which there's caveats into why. I'll discuss those later. Well, actually, I might as well get that out there now. The decision that Congress had made on the reduction of F-22 production was due to this change from pure warfare, which would be warfare with countries like China or Russia or Germany or essentially any country that can muster the same force, either large scale or technology wise, as the United States. That's pure warfare. To insurgency warfare. So basically, yeah, dealing with terrorists did not help the F-22 one bit. The other factor in this decision was the climbing production cost. Production was, the cost to produce these planes was really ramping high, which in all honesty, during the development, they actually had anticipated that the plane was actually going to cost more than what they were anticipating. That wasn't so much on Lockheed, that was more on the project supervisors, leads, if you will, for the Air Force. They're kind of the ones that went, well, I think they're actually underbidding the plane, but that can be expected. Production of the F-22 would begin in 1996 and production would run until 2011. A total of 195 planes were built. This includes the test batch, the original 8 planes. Japan and Israel both would show interest in buying F-22s, but nothing would come to that due to various factors, being price, and that there was actually for a while there a ban on exporting the F-22 to another country, even though Lockheed Martin was actually trying to design a export version of this plane, if you will, that wasn't as stealthy, as maneuverable, more than likely wouldn't have necessarily the advanced avionics that the Air Force versions have. A variant called the FB-22 was also proposed to the United States Air Force. Now what you're seeing here is actually an image of Ace Combat 7 of what it looks like rendered in game. And this was actually based off the drawings that Lockheed Martin had proposed when they proposed the FB-22. It was designed for the purpose to be a medium-range supersonic stealth bomber. It was designed to carry up to 30 small diameter bombs. However, it seems like the FB-22 was not approved for research and development. Basically, it got shot down almost right away. Instead, they decided that heavier bombers would be the better way to go over a lighter bomber like the FB-22. There was also a 2-seat variant planned called the F-22B, but it never entered production. There was also a naval version planned, but this variant was canceled in 1991. See, the Navy took interest in the ATF program, but they had bailed out of it. It was going to have variable sweep wings, much like the F-14, and it was planned to replace the aging F-14. So these things were supposedly going to take over for the F-14, just never really happened. I don't know if that would be better or worse at the end of the day. You could swing that either way. I mean, I kind of feel like that even though the F-18 has kind of taken up the slack that the F-14, without having the F-14, it would have to take up. I don't know how to explain this here, but basically I kind of feel like even though it's tried to take over, the F-18 tried to take over for the F-14, it really hasn't done a good job, actually. I mean, it sort of has, but not really. It's kind of a weird thing, and this is just going by feedback from pilots themselves. The F-22 is a one-man fighter. It is 62 feet long, and has a height of 16.8 feet. The wingspan of the Raptor is 48 feet 6 inches. The F-22 is powered by two Pratt & Whitney F-119 PW100 engines, and they produce 26,000 IBF dry or 35,000 IBF afterburn. So they go quite pretty good, especially because there's two of them. It can achieve a maximum speed of 2.25 Mach at altitude and Mach 1.82 at super cruise. It is armed with an M61A1 20mm Vulcan cannon. The F-22 has eight internal pylon slots. The loadout is based on whatever the mission calls for. However, AIM-9 Sidewinders and AIM-120 AMRAAMs are pretty typical part of the loadout. It seems like no matter what loadout it takes, it's going to have AIM-120s and AIM-9s as a part of the loadout. The F-22 can be fitted with 4 underwing pylons. Typically, it will have 2 drop tanks and 4 additional missiles can be fitted to these pylons. However, one flaw with the pylons is it reduces the stealth signature capabilities of the F-22 Raptor. So if you're worried about stealth, you're not going to want to rock the pylons. Let's be honest here. Now, that being said, the F-22 is a very capable plane, and looking around at specifications of other planes, this is literally on paper probably the best fighter in the world. That being said, though, that is on paper, folks. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to a dogfight, it really depends. It depends on how good the pilot is. It depends on what kind of condition the aircraft is. It depends on how much experience does that pilot have in the plane. I'm sure if you took, say, an F-15 pilot and put him in an F-22 Raptor, he'd be completely out of his zone no matter how many flight hours he has, just because of the control systems are different on an F-22 Raptor. He doesn't necessarily know the Raptor's capabilities, etc., etc. So, yeah, on paper, this looks like it could be the best plane in the world right now, which who knows how much longer that will last. It still depends. That being said, there's no indication on how long they plan on keeping the Raptors in service. I imagine with everything I just said about it being the best plane in the world, possibly. I don't think this plane's going to be going anytime soon. I would imagine that's probably going to be, I would guess, 2050. And that's just a guess right now. There's really, like I said, no indication on how long they plan on keeping these. But anyway, folks, that is my video talking about the F-22 Raptor. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much for tuning in. And have yourself a wonderful day.